Hello there. Welcome in Wednesday. That is today. Appreciate you stopping by, whether you're listening on your radio, online at extrasports1300.com, or on the Extra 1300 app that you can download for nothing, listen for nothing. It's 100% free and highly recommended by yours truly. A veritable cornucopia of sports topics coming your way over the course of the next 3 hours, and I would just love, I can't say stuff like that without sounding sarcastic. Like, I legitimately enjoy this job more when I hear from you, but anytime I say anything like that, it sounds like I'm being sarcastic. I'm not. Please call, text, 719-247-1313, or hit me up on X at Gingerly Tweets. That's what this medium conversation. Look forward to hearing from you. Also, keep that number handy because I'll be giving away another pair of tickets to see the NFR Open at the Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo, which is well underway at the Norris Penrose Event Center. Let's get to it, shall we? Sometimes you don't know when you're in your own world, your own environment, your own ecosystem. You don't know if a guy is truly special or he's just special for here. And this is what I mean by this. Derrick White, when he went to UCCS, just a couple miles down the road from where I currently stand, clearly showed that, with all due respect to the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, and as much as I have a great affinity for that conference and all its member schools, he was too good for it. He was. He was too good. And you wondered, as he would move on throughout his basketball career, would there be a ceiling, and what that ceiling was? Because clearly, if you watched him at UCCS, you're like, this guy's moving on. There's no way he's staying playing Division II basketball. But you know that Colorado isn't exactly a hotbed for NBA talent. And it's part of the reason why we hold Chauncey Billups in such high regard around here, is because there haven't been a lot of guys since that have threatened to take that mantle from him as Mr. Colorado basketball. Now, there have been very talented basketball players in the past, but to be on the level that Derrick White currently is, and now his career has taken another step up today, there just haven't been that many guys. So if you follow basketball in this state, prep basketball in this state, you wonder, playing at Legend High School, is Derrick White special for Colorado? Or like special? So he goes to UCCS, too good for that. Goes on to CU. He's their best player. And then it's, well, where's he going to get drafted? And he ends up going late in the first round, right? Where good teams are drafting. They draft role players. How much are we going to see of this guy? Well, fast forward a few years later, and he is not just a guy on the newly crowned NBA champions. He is a key member of the rotation. Right? Look at, very similar to what Bruce Brown was for the Denver Nuggets. Right? He's not their most important player. You probably go down the pecking order, but you realize that he was somebody that was integral in the success of the team. And he ends up getting compensated handsomely for it. And just right there, stop. What a great career arc Derrick White has. Clearly proving that he's not just special for Colorado, that he's, he belongs at every level he's been at and is important to every team he is on, not just a guy. And now, with Kawhi Leonard bowing out of Team USA, why he was there in the first place is another question that I will dive into over the course of this program. But now Derrick White takes another step, shows you that his ceiling isn't even on whatever you said his ceiling was after he won an NBA title with the Boston Celtics. Now he is a member of Team USA, one of the best iterations of Team USA that we have ever seen. And Derrick White is a part of it. He's one of the 12. Derrick White, former UCCS Mount Lion, legend, high school legend. He's a Buff, and now he's a member of Team USA. At every turn, even with people here in Colorado rooting for this guy. And it's not like Derrick White just popped up. Okay, I've had him on this radio program before. People around here know about Derrick White. And he had a lot of fans here, a lot of people rooting for him, a lot of people following his career. But there was just always the ceiling. Well, he's great. He's a really good high school basketball player in this state, but he's only a D2 guy. Gets to the D2 level, dominates. Okay. Well, maybe he's a D1 guy, but, he'll get lost in the shuffle a little bit there in Boulder. Nope, he was their best player. Maybe he can eke into the draft. Probably more of a second round guy. Nope. A quality, good front office decided that Derrick White could be something and took him at the end of the first round. I don't know how long this guy's going to stick around. Oh, he's a key piece to a championship team. I don't know if anybody was saying there's no way this guy's going to be on Team USA, but ask yourself if you ever thought Derrick White would be on Team USA. Just a remarkable career arc for Derrick White. And now he is Olympian 23 that call Colorado home. Now there are more, obviously, especially in this city, that would claim residency in Colorado. But Colorado born and bred athletes, 23 of them are going to Paris. And now with Derrick White being the 23rd. Amazing story. And a guy that a lot of people around here know. You know what kind of guy he is. He was just putting on a basketball camp in Parker yesterday. Wins an NBA title, could probably jet set across the world if he wanted to with his $123 million contract. Nope. Running a basketball camp for kids in his hometown. Trying to grow, pay it forward, grow the next generation of Colorado basketball player. That's what Derrick White was doing yesterday. And today he's getting a call from Grant Hill, and he's on his way to Las Vegas to be a member of Team USA as they try to win a gold medal. All-American, all Pac-12, all-state NBA champion, and probably gold medalist. You love this story. You love it. And I am not trying to rain on the parade. This is filed under the two things can be true at once. You can love the Derrick White story. You could be all about it and still acknowledge that it's a bit curious that Derrick White was the next Celtic on the call list. Why didn't Jaylen Brown get this call? I said when the initial roster came out that Kawhi shouldn't be on this team. And Jaylen Brown should. He was a snub from the get-go. And now you have a spot open up. And Jaylen Brown, you're not calling Jaylen Brown? I mean, you want to talk about what's new in the lives of the Boston Celtics. All Jaylen Brown was the best player on the eventual NBA champions in both the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. And since then, he's lost his ring. Thankfully, he got that back. He gets surpassed by Jason Tatum, his teammate and highest paid player in the NBA. Jason Tatum is now gracing the cover of NBA 2K. And Derrick White, his own teammate, is getting the call up to Team USA over him. I know Jaylen Brown's a team guy, but even that's got to eat at you a little bit. And you know who else is wondering why Jaylen Brown wasn't the next choice? Jaylen Brown, who shortly after the official announcement was made, tweeted one, not two, but three monocle emojis, pondering the very same question that I'm pondering. Why wasn't he called? Positionally, it makes sense. If you say you're looking for defense, Jaylen Brown defends. It's not Luka. Why wasn't Jaylen Brown selected? The only conclusion that I can reach, or the only theory that I can throw out there, I don't even know if it's a conclusion. I don't know if this is the reason, but this is my best guess. 2022, Kyrie Irving says many things that are anti-Semitic. You remember this, right? A couple years ago? Well, one of the more vocal critics of Kyrie Irving's comments was Phil Knight of Nike. Jaylen Brown took to social media to say, with that whole thing with Phil Knight criticizing Kyrie Irving, he said, "Since when does Nike care about ethics? You will notice tonight that when the United States takes on Canada, that the Nike swoosh will be quite prevalent on all Team USA gear." Am I reaching here? Because if not Jaylen Brown, if you're just asking me, the next guy I would think of is Kyrie. I I can't find a different reason. As much as Derrick White is an amazing story and he's earned everything he's gotten to this point in his career, and he's a fine fit on Team USA. Not saying he's wholly undeserving of it, but one spot opened up, and to me, he's at least third on the list. I don't have another theory for you. I think it's that. And as much as we want to be Pollyannish about it, politics, they exist in sports. They're prevalent. As much as we wish they wouldn't be, they are. And this is an organization that at multiple occasions has kind of succumbed to some level of political pressure. Why wasn't Isaiah Thomas on the Dream Team? Was that because he wasn't one of the best players? Or was that Michael? Just a few weeks ago. Why isn't Caitlin Clark on this team? Because she's not experienced enough? Because she's not one of the 12 best American female basketball players? Or was it because the veterans on that team and the head coach who tweeted out the night WNBA season opened, hashtag the W is more than just one player, said, yeah, we don't really want her on the team. We don't want her fanatical crazies getting mad at us when she's sitting the bench in Paris. And now this feels like politics. It feels like it's not quite the meritocracy that they would have you believe. And look, every level of athletics, this kind of stuff happens. Okay. And I'm not trying to talk anybody down off of being anything less than ecstatic about Derrick White. Right. Again, two things can be true: that this could be an amazing opportunity for a guy that has worked his butt off at every level of basketball he's played. And you could be absolutely locked in to Team USA to cheer on, to watch Derrick White. You could be happy about the outcome. Not saying you have to feel bad. But if you look at this without bias, if a Boston Celtic was going to be chosen for Team USA in place of Kawhi Leonard, would it have been Derrick White? Wouldn't have been for me. 719-247-1313. That is the phone and text line if you want to weigh in on your thoughts. Derrick White getting selected. It's a great story, but kind of weird that Jaylen Brown's wasn't the choice today. Just getting going on this Wednesday edition of the show. Coming up next, I am now calling for all preseason media polls in every collegiate sport to be abolished. I'll explain why next on Extra Sports 1300. The best pro rodeo cowboys and cowgirls from the U.S., Canada, and Mexico are right here in Colorado Springs all this week. Well, not all this week, just through the 13th. That's Saturday. But with over $1 million in payouts, they'll be riding to win. This is where champions and careers are made. The speed, the excitement, there's no better place to be than the NFR Open at the Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo. Get your tickets now at pikespeakorbust.org. Heard that there were some good crowds on hand the last couple of nights. Still a few seats available for the next couple. Make sure you grab those. Cross it off your Colorado Springs sports bucket list. I've been advocating, perhaps not as strongly as I needed to, for a formal abolishment of preseason polls in collegiate athletics, especially the ones on a conference by conference basis. Okay, maybe you could talk me into some utility to the overall preseason poll. I just think it's so hard on a year-to-year basis to get a good idea of who's going to be good, right, with the transfer portal. And I think it's why CU ended up 11th in the Big 12. There's no way they're finishing 11th in the Big 12. I can't see it. Are they going to contend for a Big 12 title? I wouldn't go that far. But 11th? But I think it's the unknown, right? You could take the unknown and say, I'm gonna push it down a little bit. I would rather underrate a team than overrate a team. And I think that's what you saw with Colorado, right? Let's not get carried away. We still need to see this all come together. There are more established teams that we're more comfortable with putting at the top. So we're going to underrate CU. I think even those voting on the Big 12 preseason poll will say that they probably underrated CU. But they got to see it. New conference, completely new lines, both on the offensive and defensive side. But that's happening throughout college football. It's not just a CU thing. Maybe they're going above and beyond with it. And Lane Kiffin's calling Deion Sanders the GOAT of the transfer portal. And if Deion Sanders is the GOAT of the transfer portal, then Lane Kiffin is the heir apparent, because he's certainly taken what Deion Sanders has done and used it to his own benefit at Ole Miss. But they're just, and I could speak to this on another level here. You know, I vote in the preseason poll. I've voted in the last couple of years since I've gotten the job of broadcasting Air Force women's basketball to vote in the preseason Mount West poll. And I enjoy it. Like, I dig into it and look at these rosters, who's coming back and all this kind of stuff. And I enjoy the exercise. And that's the thing, is that we would do this anyway, right? We do this on a daily basis. I could just ask you, where do you think CU is going to end up? Anybody that's voting in these media polls has their own platform that they can do this. Do we have to get them together and vote? I openly question that. And maybe I'm going to have my privileges revoked on this. I'm not trying to, this is not against any conference or anything like that. This is just, the exercise has become more and more futile because of the transfer portal. Like, I look at rosters in every sport. But I talk about women's basketball, like, this player that plays 5 minutes a game for Syracuse is transferring to New Mexico. Like, how do I really know that she's going to blow up and be their best player? And like, it's so difficult to see these. It's not even like free agency, right? Because if you're playing major Division I athletics, you're probably not getting much time. And now you're going to the group of 5 and you're going to get a bigger role, and you're maybe a level of player that school wouldn't have gotten out of high school, but you still don't know how it's going to translate. It's become increasingly more difficult. And there's no harm done by any of this. But I look at these preseason polls, I'm like, what? So I did that a couple of days ago with the Big 12. How is CU 11th? And then I looked today at the Mount West, and Air Force is picked 4th. Do you know that Air Force has 4 starters returning out of the 22, offense and defense? 4 starters are returning. This is an amazing stat. Air Force is losing its top 3 and 5 of its top 7 rushers from last year. They're losing their leading passer in Zach Larrier and 3 of their top 4. Now, we saw some other quarterbacks for Air Force last year, but Larrier played most of the year. You're losing 3 of your top 4. 3 of your top 4 passers. 5 of your top 7 leading rushers. Air Force is last in returning production. You could basically completely throw out what happened last year from a personnel standpoint. There's no continuity with this team whatsoever. And yet they're picked to finish 4th? How does anybody even know what Air Force is going to be? They keep their secrets. They do a great job of protecting their secrets. I could just tell you, covering this team, we don't get much of anything. We really don't. And then we all arrive to Falcon Stadium for week 1, just like you do, and are very excited and curious to see what happens. And then once the season gets going, then we're like, okay, we start to make some assessments on guys. I mean, how long did we drag out the quarterback thing? We didn't know who even the starting quarterback was going to be. And then it became so obvious as the season wore on that Zach Larrier was the far superior quarterback in that room. That's like, how is this even a debate in the first place? Well, it's because we didn't know. We didn't see these guys. Air Force returns 1 starter on offense. The Diesel's gone. The Diesel, their offensive line, all gone. Quarterback, gone. Jared Rosnos is the only returning starter on offense. 3 starters returning on defense. And I would also throw in, Camby Goff returning from injury. But that's it. I mean, if you're voting on this poll, how can you look at Air Force and not shrug your shoulder? I don't know what they're going to be. You know what this is? I think it's a confluence of a couple of things. 1, to Air Force's credit, I think this is, as much as, when Troy Calhoun goes to the podium, he's not going to care 1 iota, and most coaches don't care at all where they lie in the preseason media poll. And they probably shouldn't. But if I'm Troy Calhoun, I'm wearing this like a badge of honor. Because you know what this is? This is trusting what he does. I don't know who's going to play where. I don't know what this team is going to look like. I don't have anything to go off of from the previous year, but I just know with Troy Calhoun, with Mike Thiessen, who is just honored or shouted out for how good of a play caller he is, with that coaching staff, where they do have continuity. They have the most continuity. Right? This is the longest tenured staff as a whole. You add up the years. Nobody in the Mountain West can even touch Air Force. And they have their system. And over the last few years, you're like, I don't care who they have. They're going to win games. So as much as I can't, I look at this, I'm like, are they fourth going into the year? Well, I don't know. But this is a bet that the voters are making because of what has happened over the last few years. Because while the turnover hasn't been as extreme as it will be this year, they've changed quarterbacks, rushers, lost key members of their defense, as many teams do, but year over year, and it's like, what are they going to do? They're going to win 9 games. They're going to go to a bowl game. They're going to win the bowl game. Like, this is what Air Force is. I think that's what today's media poll is about. That if I'm going to make a bet, if I'm betting, even though, betting in college football don't mix, but if I'm making a bet, if I'm making a futures bet, even knowing as little as I do about Air Force, the stuff I know is that this team just continues to win and continues to contend in the Mountain West. I don't know what this team's going to look like, but if I'm going to make a bet, I'm going to make a bet on Troy Calhoun. I'm going to make a bet on Mike Thiessen. I'm going to make a bet on this coaching staff, this system, and this pedigree that they have built up over the last few years. So I think it's actually quite flattering to Air Force. It's just, how can you with any certainty say that they're the fourth best team in the Mountain West? And I think, too, conversely, I mean, look at how much turnover there is in the Mountain West in terms of the coaches. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there are a few teams at the top, and Boise State runaway, almost unanimous. Like, they're the team to beat, no doubt about it. But they have continuity with the roster. They have continuity with their coaching staff. But look at behind Air Force, like all these teams. It's like a completely new group of coaches that are in Las Vegas right now. So I think first and foremost, it is a badge of honor for Air Force that they have done enough over the last few years that these voters are like, yeah, I'll bet on them because they're Air Force. And I've seen too much lately to go against them. Believe Troy Calhoun is scheduled to speak at Mountain West Media Days tomorrow. This is the one time, because he always talks about, last year doesn't matter, completely new team, and sometimes he's exaggerating. This year he's not. Everything that Troy Calhoun always says about the Air Force Falcons is actually going to be true. Last year probably has zero impact on this year, and it is a completely new team. And we're just going to have to wait and see on a week-to-week basis what this team's going to be as the season unfolds. It's intriguing, though. 719-247-1313. No surprise, just as a little footnote, that no Air Force players were selected all conference. There's not much production for anybody to go on. And also, the list Air Force turns in is usually very short. No one selected all conference, yet picked to finish fourth. 719-24-7-1313. We'll wrap up hour number one after this. The Rocky Mountain State Games is Colorado's largest sports festival with over 12,000 athletes competing in nearly 40 different sports. Registration open now for most of the sports, not all, so all the more reason to act quickly for athletes of all ages and skill levels at RockyMountainStateGames.org. While I am on this kick of eliminating things from the sports landscape, joining preseason college conference polls, I also think that the WNBA, the Chicago Sky, the Indiana Fever, most notably, need to, going into next year, rethink these day games. So both Chicago and Indiana played earlier today. Now, they do this so they get more kids, and I understand that they're in the business of growing the game, and this is a good tactic. I've seen Air Force do this. CU does this. You know, you have an early game, an afternoon game, especially when the kids are in school. So maybe a field trip comes out for it, or during the summer, you'll get more kids out there, more young girls, inspire them, the next generation. And I love it. But I think moving forward, other teams should take up that mantle, because now Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are headliners. They should be playing in prime time all the time, right? Whether that's a night game during the week, whether that's, a Sunday window on ABC, they really shouldn't be in the business of taking themselves out of prime viewing windows. And I'm sure these things were locked into place long before Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese got there, right? They don't decide these things on the fly. But the WNBA is women's basketball. Let's just take it to the very top level. Women's basketball is better served with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese playing in prime time than they are playing at 1:00 in the afternoon. Now, other teams in the WNBA, yeah, sure, continue to do this. And maybe there's a happy medium where they do one of these. But this is not the first time. Indiana's played during the day, during the week a couple of times. Chicago has done that. In fact, I got duped into thinking a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, Angel Reese last night, Nope, it was earlier that day. I'm just not trained to think of professional basketball being played in the afternoon during the week. I get why they're doing it and why they've done this in the past. And there are some good things, but when you have Angel Reese and when you have Caitlin Clark and whatever team drafts Paige Beckers may want to start thinking about this, like, you should stay in primetime. Right? Because you're driving everything for this league, especially Indiana, right? We've talked about this. Angel Reese is certainly driving some interest, is helping, but it's nowhere close to Caitlin Clark. But especially now that both are being talked about at the same time, even if they're not playing, yeah, I think it's probably better that Chicago and Indiana, especially Indiana, but both stay in primetime, be on television. That's what's better for women's basketball, better for the league. But something happened at the end of the Chicago Sky game that I've seen before, and I think it needs to stop. So Angel Reese, as you might be aware, has set the WNBA record for consecutive rookie double-doubles. Right? And there's a big source of pride behind it. It's a continuing storyline in the WNBA. Well, Chicago's up by 6 or 7 with less than 10 seconds to go. Angel Reese is in the low block, but just looks like she's dribbling it out. Like she's not going to shoot. She has 9 points and 13 rebounds. Okay, game's over. There's literally nothing that the opposing team can do to swing the game in their favor. We've seen this situation in basketball games a million times. You just dribble it out, no timeouts left, all that kind of stuff. Let it go, move on. Angel Reese doesn't look like she's going to shoot it, right? Because the backlash would be immense if she's going up for a shot in a game that's already been decided just to extend her double-double streak. But the player guarding her makes it so she doesn't have to. She fouls her, puts her on the line. What is the reason for that foul? There's no reason for that foul in that situation. You're over the limit. You're going to put her on the line. Why are you doing this? This is not the first time that it appears that an opposing team of the Chicago Sky is intentionally fouling Angel Reese so she can extend her streak. And look, I'm not going to get bent out of shape over one time. I'm not even going to be too critical after 2 times. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. Because there have been multiple times where NBA players have been accused of stat stuffing, right? Most recently, Nikola Jokic, right? Remember how vitriolic that conversation got? Remember how bothered by the whole thing Nikola Jokic got? Because it made it seem like he was out for his own personal gain over his team. Russell Westbrook went through this a lot when he was in Oklahoma City. You don't want that conversation around Angel Reese. You don't, and it's only going to detract from it. You do it once, it's like, okay. You do it a couple of times, now you're starting to wade into some dangerous territory. Because the last thing anybody who's a proponent of Angel Reese wants is people like me saying that this streak is asterisk worthy because teams are just fouling her in order to extend it. It's not a good look. So you've done it a couple of times, WNBA. Stop. If she can't get, she had ended up with 11 points and 13 rebounds. Look at it this way. If Angel Reese can't get double-digit points, as much as she's being talked about as the Rookie of the Year, in many people's minds, the front runner for the WNBA Rookie of the Year, if she can't get to 10 points without you getting a garbage time foul intentionally to put her on the line, then she probably doesn't deserve to be in the conversation she's being placed in. She should probably find a way to get above double digits on her own. And I can't watch what happened and come away with any other conclusion than that was intentional to put Reese on the line so she could extend her double-double streak. It's not what you want. Meanwhile, just going to that Rookie of the Year thing, Angel Reese needs an intentional foul to get a double-double. Caitlin Clark, meanwhile, had 29 points, 5 rebounds, and 13 assists. So it's like you can look at these stat categories and say, wow, Caitlin Clark's leading in points, but Angel Reese is leading in rebounds and assists going to Caitlin Clark. But look at steals. That's Angel Reese. And there's this streak, and the Chicago Sky are winning. And yes, they won today and Indiana lost. Look at the stat line that Clark is putting up. And this is not the first time. Okay. Angel Reese gets 12 points, 13 rebounds, 15 points, 10 rebounds. and Caitlin Clark is going galactic with triple doubles and 29 points, 5 rebounds, 13 assists. I think she even had a couple of blocks. So even if you just look at the stat categories, maybe you're better served looking a little bit more in depth and realizing like, oh, it's not the same. It's not quite the debate, the neck and neck race that people want to make it out to be. 719-247-1313. Coming up next, Kawhi Leonard has been removed from Team USA. I wonder why he was even there in the first place. Shia. Welcome in, Drive Time Sports. Ryan Kaufman with you on this fine Wednesday. Yep, still warm out. Got to do something about that. Reminder, you can watch the show, as many are doing right now, on our social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, X, Instagram, even YouTube. At XTRA Sports 1300 at Extra Sports 1300 is where you can go on a daily basis to watch the show if you so choose. And you can even interact with the show while you're there. Comment, I see it. Put it up on the screen, read it on air. Handy. Technology, I tell you what, it's something else. Kawhi Leonard is no longer going to be a part of the Olympic proceedings, and I never understood why he was there in the first place. I don't think it is a great look for a player in the NBA to, last we checked on him, last we saw him, was either in street clothes on the bench or looked severely injured. And then the next time we see him, they're suited up for Team USA. I understand that Team USA is kind of above all of it. Well, at least until today. Perhaps Team USA isn't above the NBA. But it's, there's this thought of it. Look, it's once every 4 years. I get it. Guys get healthy. Time passes. If they really want to play, it shouldn't hamper them. But let's be honest here. We care more about the NBA. The NBA is bigger business. Okay? And that's fine. Because you know what? Every other sport that is going on in Paris in 2 weeks, that is their biggest event by far. For some of those sports, it's the only exposure they will ever get, right? It's okay that in one sport, and I wouldn't even say women's basketball is at this point yet. Maybe when Caitlin Clark's on the team, but as of right now, even for women's basketball, the Olympics, for many people, is a bigger deal than the WNBA. With men's basketball, it's just not. We care more about the NBA. We care more about Kawhi Leonard, the Los Angeles Clipper, than we do Kawhi Leonard, member of Team USA. And I just don't think the optics are great. And if you're a Clipper fan, how are you feeling? Right? This guy was hurt again at the most important juncture. That, if you're keeping track at home, that's 2 games against Dallas this year, 2 games against Phoenix the year before, and then he's done. This was even his healthiest year that he's had in like 5 years, and still it ended up in the same place. If you're a Clippers fan, how can you feel good about him being on Team USA? Now, you're not going to openly admit it for fear of being, unpatriotic or a spy or committing a light form of treason in some way, shape, or form. You're not going to admit it, but I know you don't love it. You don't love that this guy that you pay season tickets for, that consumes every year a big chunk of your calendar. Yeah, you're going to prioritize that over the once every 4 years. And if Kawhi Leonard ends up hurt at the end of another season, if I'm a Clipper fan, I don't love that he was with Team USA. I don't. But more so than Clippers fans feeling that way, the Clippers themselves. How they did not put more pressure on Team USA in the first place to be like, yeah, no, we don't, not Kawhi. Not Kawhi. Grant Hill, no. And maybe they have been. But today it seems like it finally worked. And make no mistake about it, this is not Kawhi Leonard's decision, and this is not Team USA. Team USA chose him, wanting him to play. Kawhi Leonard, in their statement today, when they announced that Kawhi Leonard was withdrawing from Team USA, they said he felt ready to play. So this is not Kawhi Leonard doing this. Team USA goes on to say in their statement that it was them and the Clippers who made the decision. I doubt it. I think Team USA acquiesced. I don't think they made the decision in concert with the Clippers. I think the Clippers finally did something to make Team USA make this decision. Because why go through the trouble of bringing him out and everything just to replace him? My guess is that the Clippers were always in USA Basketball's ear saying, don't take this guy. And perhaps maybe the tipping point or that proverbial straw was them losing Paul George. Right? I mean, this is going to be a very interesting, and maybe not in a positive way, for the LA Clippers, because they got nothing for Paul George. Nothing. And he's the one guy. Think about this. Playoff P is the most reliable postseason performer for the LA Clippers. The health of Kawhi, and then your next best option is James Harden. And they lost Paul George and got nothing in return. They're moving into this Thunderdome that they're building in Inglewood. Right, you don't want the first couple of years in this new building to be Clippers years of old. But it's a potential reality for this team. Like, really look at the Western Conference. How many teams right now would you place above the LA Clippers, even assuming the health of Kawhi Leonard? I did this yesterday, and I think at best the Clippers with a healthy Kawhi are like the 9th best team. And I'm not even so sure about that. And if Kawhi Leonard gets hurt, they're done. They might as well be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. Why was he even there in the first place? What motivation was there? We all saw this guy in street clothes. Again. You don't have enough? You don't have enough stars that you have to bring Kawhi Leonard with you? And I've heard some people say that he wasn't even going to have that big of a role on the team. Okay, all the more reason to replace him. Right? If the guy's not going to play a lot of minutes, just don't even bother. If they were going to rely on him to bring them a gold medal, then it's a different conversation. But if the guy was going to get limited minutes anyway, maybe behind the scenes, Kawhi Leonard really pushed for this. And I got to imagine he wanted to do it. Maybe that's what it was. That he really pushed to go out there. I can't imagine that the Clippers at any point. And there's nothing that happened to Kawhi since they got to Vegas. He has no setbacks. KD got hurt, not Kawhi. It didn't make sense from the beginning. And now you're having to do this at kind of the last minute. And it works out for folks in this neck of the woods because Derrick White is going to be his replacement. But if Derrick White was going to be the replacement, they should have just chosen him. That's what I'm saying. Kawhi shouldn't have been on this team to begin with. But think about this. If it's things have gotten so tenuous with the LA Clippers and Kawhi Leonard, right? Like I'm not saying adversarial. That's Paul George. I'm just saying the Clippers are so worried about Kawhi that they can't even bear the thought of him playing in a 2-week basketball tournament. They can't even bear the thought. And look, I just said, I don't know why he was on the team in the first place. But there's also another layer to this that Kawhi's health is so untrustworthy that the Clippers can't let him play for 2 weeks in a minimal role. And this is the guy that they've put their entire franchise on as they're moving into a brand new building, which I hear the tickets are not cheap. He's your box office draw. I don't know if we're ever getting Kawhi back. You thought you were seeing it. There was a time where he was kind of on the fringes of the NBA MVP conversation. And then it ended like so many Kawhi Leonard seasons do. And now you have this. It just adds to that feeling in the pit of your stomach if you're a Clipper fan. And it's like already the George Kawhi thing was a failure. It already didn't work. That's over and done with. But the Clippers may not even get anything worthwhile out of either Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. And to think that at some juncture of this season, whether it's late in the regular season or sometime in the postseason, God forbid, that you're going to pin all your hopes and dreams on James Harden. You do what the Clippers did back a few years ago when they brought both of these guys in. Every team would have done it. Okay, but it goes to the thought that there are some organizations that just have such bad karma that even when they do the right things like spend money, they're aggressive, they land stars, it's just not going to work out. It's just not going to work out. There are too many past sins. Right? Donald Sterling. Doc Rivers. Like, I don't want to say them in the same breath, but look, there have been some bad Clipper juju that has been building up over years. Teams with backgrounds like the LA Clippers, I'm not going to say they don't deserve nice things, but they're not allowed nice things. So Kawhi's out. Derrick White's in. I would not be surprised if there's one more cut so to speak, before Team USA heads overseas. If you're the Philadelphia 76ers, are you not of the same mind that the LA Clippers are? Are you not nervy about Joel Embiid? The last time we saw Joel Embiid, the dude could barely get up and down the floor. I don't know if this is all we let these guys go and then we're less of a bad guy if they get a go, but then we yank them back. I don't know what the thought process is here, but if I'm the Sixers, I'm especially today, I'm looking at this Kawhi Leonard situation like, wait, can we do this? Can we do this? Because Joel Embiid is just as important to us as Kawhi Leonard is to the Clippers. And we actually have title aspirations. They're just worried about their new arena. We're trying to win an NBA title, and we can't do that if Joel Embiid's hurt. And the dude was dragging himself up and down the floor at the end of the Knicks series, and now he's fresh as a daisy and ready to contribute to Team USA. If I'm Daryl Morey, if I'm Josh Harris, the owner of the Sixers, I'm getting on the horn with Grant Hill and saying, hey, you going to extend the same courtesy to us and allow us to pull back our star? Because we don't want Joel Embiid playing for you. I would not be surprised if something similar happens with Joel Embiid. I'm not certain of it because at least Joel Embiid was playing at the end of the Sixers season, unlike Kawhi, but I wouldn't be shocked because this kind of, to me, feels like it's now open season. Right? This opens the door. You're not locked in just because you're in Vegas right now. You're not locked in. So we'll see. And then tonight, of course, you have a very intriguing matchup, a friendly, to use a soccer term, Canada against the United States. I think around these parts, maybe more of the interest is in the Canadians because of one player in particular. Let's get into that next on Extra Sports 1300. Kawhi Leonard out of the Olympics. Colorado's own Derrick White will replace him tonight. The United States with their first tune-up for the Olympics against Jamal Murray and Team Canada. That game is at 7:30 or 8:30. Time zones are tricky. I'll get you that official time, but it is tonight on FS1. 719-247-1313. You could call or text that number and have your say on these topics, as Dave would like to do. Dave wants to talk about Derrick White for Kawhi swap and some other stuff. Dave, appreciate you calling in. I am great. How are you?
I'm doing well, brother. A couple thoughts. I'm so proud that they picked our own Derrick White to take Kawhi's place. And honestly, I think you teaming better because, as we all know, you really can't count on Kawhi, as talented as he is. Now, with that said, the Celtics are by distance second favorite team. I think it's more of a fit that they picked Derrick White than somebody like a Jaylen Brown or somebody on a different squad. So I think they got better, and I think they're going to make another move. And I think you touched on Embiid. I don't feel comfortable with any of this, and I'm not even sure we're going to win a gold. My second thought, and I wish I get your comments on it. I was reading earlier reports on the Nuggets are trying to tweak Jamal Murray's extension and throw some clauses that he has to work out a little bit more. And that's really saying to him that he's not professional or anything. I wondered if that report was true and why they didn't pick Jaylen Brown, even though I'm glad they picked Derrick White.
Yeah. Well, let me start with the Jamal Murray thing. I probably have seen the same reports that you have seen on this. I do think that and I don't want to blow it out of proportion. I don't think these two sides are, they hate each other or anything like that. But I think that the Nuggets have reached kind of a critical mass here, given the second apron, that they have to protect themselves. And Jamal Murray, and I know there's been frustration in the organization about Jamal Murray's inability to stay healthy, his inability to recover quickly enough from injuries. Calvin Booth and Michael Malone both touched on it in the postseason press conference. I think this is smart from the Nuggets. I really do, because if they're in such a cap crunch with this second apron, they can't afford to be tied to Jamal Murray, where every other year his health is going to be an issue. So I have no doubt that they're trying to finagle something. We'll see if they ultimately win out and get that in there.
Okay, sounds great.
And you also brought up, I at the start of the show said, I echo your same sentiments. I think it's awesome that Derrick White is there. I'm not going to shed a tear for Jaylen Brown at all. It's a better story around here if Derrick White's in, and it's a great reward for a guy that has earned everything in his basketball career. But wouldn't you say that, like, if you were just thinking about it, wouldn't Jaylen Brown have been the next name on your list?
Probably not. I think of the matchup that he had. He had to face Luka and did a pretty nice job on it. So I like Derrick White's defense, and I think that's what they had in mind. I'm so proud of Derrick White. Yeah. He's come a long way, and you're right. He's worked for everything he has, and I just wish him the best of luck. I just thought, number one, when I read it yesterday that they were thinking about him, I was surprised. But when you look for the fit, I think they did a wonderful job, and I think he's going to serve his country well.
Yeah, and thanks for the call, Dave, and keep on calling back. Love to hear from you. I don't want to let my feelings about Jaylen Brown probably being more deserving, being a better player, my thought that there's might be some Nike politics at play here on why Jaylen Brown wasn't chosen. I don't want any of that to get in the way of a great story. Okay, it's, USA Basketball has made many decisions over the years that can be called into question, that may have been influenced by forces outside of USA Basketball. Like, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And I certainly don't want to detract from the Derrick White story, right? Not just for Colorado, right? That's our own selfish bias. We want a Coloradan in there. And now we have 23 Colorado natives in the Olympics. But he's a great story, and I don't care if he's from Colorado or from Oregon or from the state of New York. Look at the arc this guy has been on. Only gets D2 offers out of high school. Goes D2, dominates, transfers to a D1. He's their best player. Late first-round pick. Becomes a key piece of a championship team, and not just a championship team, but a dominant team this year. The Celtics were dominant, and Derrick White was a big part of that. And now he's also adding this to the resume, and he's a great human being. So it's the two things can be true, but also I don't want one to affect another. Okay, I believe what I'm saying about Jaylen Brown, but it's a great story with Derrick White. And at some level, isn't that what we look for in the Olympics more than anything? Right? We want those great stories. And Derrick White is the right combination of a great story and deserving. Is he the most deserving to get this spot? I would probably quarrel with that. But it's not like they're going completely out of left field with this decision. And then you're right. There's a basketball fit to it. I think Jaylen Brown, if you're looking for defense, again, the position that Jaylen Brown plays, same position Kawhi plays. Jaylen Brown is a good defender, maybe not Derrick White's level, but you also have Drew Holiday on the roster. I don't think Team USA is hurting for defenders. But this text came in from the 719. It definitely should have been Jaylen Brown, but this ain't 3-on-3. Kyrie, because I brought his name up earlier, would not fit well on that team. It brings no defense. I'm happy for D. White. So, yeah, you could say Kyrie Irving's a better player. You could say in some ways more deserving, but maybe the basketball fit just isn't there, in addition to Kyrie's recent past. But I think Jaylen Brown checks all the boxes. But it's a great story. I'm not upset about it. And other than Jaylen Brown, I don't think anybody should be upset about it. Steve G says, coming from Colorado, which is not a hotbed for basketball talent, to him making the Celtics and now the Olympic team, a very big deal. It is, and I invoke the name of Chauncey Billups to begin the show. Here's a question, and we could get into this topic moving forward. Is Derrick White the face of Colorado basketball? Is he that guy now? Has he supplanted Chauncey Billups? And Chauncey Billups will always have a special place in Colorado basketball because, yeah, he was a Buff. And, yeah, he grew up in Colorado, but he also played for the Nuggets. And up until last year, helped get the Nuggets as close as they've ever been to winning an NBA title. And so Chauncey Billups will always and being kind of the first guy. He'll always have that special place. And I don't know what the title is. Mr. Basketball Colorado, Mr. Colorado Basketball. When you think of hoopers from the state of Colorado, are you going to think of Derrick White before you think of Chauncey Billups? I think a lot of people probably are already there. And now he's going to go play on a world stage after playing on another world stage just a few weeks ago. Let me know your thoughts. Derrick White or Mr. Big Shot? Who will you think of moving forward when it comes to Colorado basketball? 719 24/7 1313. Take a break. Coming up next, you'd like to go to the Pikes Peak or Bus Rodeo. I know you, and I know that you know that I know you. You want to go to the Pikes Peak or Bus Rodeo, and I have tickets for you coming up next. One thing that I don't get to do a lot in this time slot is break news. I've talked about this before. Games happen at night. Some things happen, over the weekend or in the morning. We wake up to a lot of news. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and I get to put a graphic or a cryon on the screen on the live broadcast on social media. The U.S. men's national team has relieved Greg Berhalter of head coaching duties. Over the weekend, Fox had said that a decision about Greg Berhalter would happen in the middle of the week. And if you've been on social media today, a lot of people are like, okay, where's the announcement? Let's go. Middle of the week. It was expected to happen today, one way or another. And I got to tell you, I'm a little bit surprised. I'm a little bit surprised that this is happening. Because this happened before. Everyone called for Greg Berhalter to be fired after the World Cup. And the USSF did the same thing that they just did a week or so ago. And they said, we're going to take some time and figure this out. And then they came back and said, welcome back, Greg Berhalter. And there's, not to get, too deep into this, but I think a lot of people have rightly started to turn their attention to Matt Crocker, who's at the top of this, of the USSF, and saying, maybe for real change to happen and for U.S. men's soccer to really reach its potential, they need a change in leadership at the top, not just at field level. And that's a conversation for another time. And I think that that's certainly warranted. But as we see in club sports, if you will, when a GM is kind of being looked at in that way, what's the best thing they can do? Fire the coach, and then right after that, hire the right guy. So Matt Crocker is going to be safe for a little while. He's going to get, some leniency here. But then it's, what do they do after this? But not to get too far ahead. We'll talk about both, and I want your thoughts. 719-247-1313. But let's just take what the news is right now and not delve too deep into what U.S. soccer should be and who should be leading it. Greg Berhalter is out. The announcement just hit my inbox. We are now focused on working with our sporting director, Matt Crocker, and leveraging his experience at the highest levels of the sport to ensure we find the right person to lead the USMNT into a new era of on-field success. This is from U.S. Soccer President Cindy Parlow-Cone. Says, I want to thank Greg for his hard work and dedication to U.S. soccer and our men's national team. Not much in here about, there you go. Greg has earned the respect of everyone within our organization and has played a pivotal role in bringing together a young team and moving the program forward. We wish Greg all the best in his future endeavors, and we know he will find success in his next coaching position. And I've long held the belief about Greg Berhalter that he was the guy before the guy. I think he was not a bad choice at the time. And I do think he deserves the credit that U.S. soccer is giving him on the way out. He overstayed his welcome. Right? It just, when you have the guy before the guy, you got to know when the right time is to move on. And to me, that was after the World Cup, and they didn't do it. And there was just, after the World Cup, after that loss to the Netherlands, there was no way that Greg Berhalter would be embraced coming back. It would take a Herculean effort on the field for him to be embraced and for fans of U.S. soccer to go, yeah, he's the right guy. They should have brought him back. And quite frankly, he wasn't capable of it. Like, that's kind of the crux. This is not about, the fans already had it in for him, and this is just the USSF feeding the angry mob. That's not what this is about. There was nothing that Greg Berhalter was capable of to change people's minds. He's just not that level of coach. The U.S. needs someone with more international experience, more success at the international level than Greg Berhalter has. So he was never capable of changing hearts and minds once he returned after the World Cup. He wasn't capable of that. But the other part is it got worse. That fact cannot be lost in this. There's no reason why the U.S. men's national team should have been grouped in Copa America. No reason whatsoever. Win the group, that was going to be a tall task. Right? Uruguay's really good. But they should have made it out. They coasted to their first victory. They should have put up more goals than they did. And then they get embarrassed against Panama. Like, it's inexcusable. It got worse. And then you have what happened against Colombia, that disaster, just a few weeks prior. And then they bounce back and they have a better effort against Brazil. But look at what's going on with Brazil right now. Maybe that's not as quality of even his most quality result, because don't forget, the best two results U.S. men's soccer has gotten since the World Cup or when B.J. Callahan was in charge. In the interim, before they brought back Greg Berhalter, those were the best two results. Again, no surprise, against CONCACAF teams. Those were the best results until Brazil. And now you're looking at it and going, oh, well, maybe Brazil is kind of one of those teams, and they exist in every league in the world, every sport in the world, where you go, their reputation kind of outweighs the reality of where they are. Brazil soccer is kind of at that point. They're not Pele. They're not this juggernaut that they used to be. So the U.S. getting a draw, and probably they should have beat them. So I don't even know that it was that quality of a result to begin with, because I thought Greg Berhalter kind of messed things up and kept the U.S. from outright winning that match. But even you say draw against Brazil, pretty good. Well, fast forward a few weeks later, yeah, tying Brazil is not that impressive. I don't know what happened in the time between the World Cup exit and then bringing back Greg Berhalter. Did they go out and get told no? Did they have doors slammed in their face? Did they try hard enough to begin with? I don't know what happened. But the decision they arrived at was completely unsatisfying. Greg Berhalter should have been done after the World Cup. That should have been like, okay, Greg Berhalter has gotten us to this point. He is not capable of getting us to the next point. We're going to move on. But for whatever reason, he was brought back. And not only did they fail to take a step forward, it was worse, culminating in the embarrassing exit from Copa America. He did well enough to get them to a certain point. It was always going to need someone else, someone better, to help the U.S. truly realize whatever potential it may have. And that's an open question. It's an open question about, is this really a golden generation? Is this team really good enough to go deep into a World Cup? That's going to be the next thing, because while Matt Crocker now has the heat off of him for a little while, the players do as well. And then at no point did I abscond the players from responsibility here. Right? There's all these guys are playing at big clubs in Europe. Okay? And they're losing to a team full of MLS guys. And I'm not saying that to disparage MLS. I am merely pointing out the pecking order of soccer leagues in the world. These are the guys that are good enough to play at the sport's highest level. And they're getting grouped in the lesser of the two soccer competitions that are currently going on right now. And I look at the result today of England getting by the Netherlands. The only coach I would contend in the world that could rival Greg Berhalter in the amount of vitriol sent his way is Gareth Southgate. And yet here England is playing in the Euro final. Why is that? Is that because England fans have it in for Southgate and he doesn't deserve it? No, I don't think that's the case. It's talent. It's the players. So there is a part of this where you say, yeah, Greg Berhalter's not the guy. And yes, some of his decisions have been curious and maybe held this team back a little bit. But still, look at this team top to bottom. It's the most talented group of Americans that have ever graced a soccer field together. Isn't that enough to get them at least through the group stage of a Copa America? I think that is a legitimate question. And the players now, regardless of who is hired to be the next U.S. men's national team coach, the microscope is going to be on them, the players. Because now the coach is gone. Right? Everybody's favorite punching bag is gone. More scrutiny will be placed on the players. And they better be ready for it in the lead up to 2026. But the counterpoint to that, or a point in addition to that, is I don't believe that whatever potential this team has in it, that Greg Berhalter did nearly a good enough job of getting out of them. The red card that Tim Weah got is ultimately on him. Is on the individual. He did that. He lost his mind. But remember Sergiño Dest, not that long ago. A lack of composure can be a referendum on a coach, can be a reflection on the team's coach. One of these variables needed to be removed. And as the old saying goes, it's much easier to fire the coach than fire the players. But in this case, I don't think it was the wrong decision. I don't think he's being scapegoated. He's unfit. He's unfit to lead this team into the biggest moment that U.S. soccer has had in their history, which is the World Cup on home soil in 2 years. They need to make sure that every variable that they can control is controlled to make sure that this team realizes a large piece of its potential in 2026. And I am not original with this thought. Write it on a sticky note, like Kevin Costner in Draft Day, Jurgen Klopp, no matter what. Get it done. Did you see, by the way, on the 4th of July, what Jurgen Klopp put out on social media? He's not American. Okay, so the entire 4th of July could go by without any post from Jurgen Klopp and no one would think anything of it. Right? Not American. It's an American holiday. Why does he have to weigh in on the 4th of July? Yet he took the time to talk about how much he enjoyed bringing his Liverpool teams to the United States and how great the fans of American soccer are. That is the soccer coach version of a thirst trap. Jurgen Klopp is amenable to the idea of coaching the U.S. men's national team, and now it's on U.S. soccer to meet his demands, and I don't care what they are. Jurgen Klopp would immediately be the best coach the U.S. has ever had, and the margin would not be that close. He clearly is saying, come get me. Now, it's not that he's going to blindly take the gig. And that's what you put on U.S. soccer. And what I said about them the last time. And they ended up bringing back Greg Berhalter. Did they not make a convincing sales pitch to whoever they talked to? Well, they better refine it. Jurgen Klopp. And I know there will be other candidates. This is like the Broncos coaching search. Okay? Lose me with David Shaw. Forget whatever hot coordinator you want to throw out there. Sean Payton. Right? Greg Penner went into this, and Sean Payton was the number one, and he stopped at nothing to get him. D'Amico Ryans, David Shaw, it wasn't going to cut it. Not for where the Broncos were at that moment in time. And you had this owner that has more money than God and wanting to make a big impression. It was always Sean Payton. And I don't know what Sean Payton's demands were, but Greg Penner met them. And now the Broncos have a coach that you believe can get them back to where they need to be. For U.S. soccer, Jurgen Klopp is a coach that if the U.S. is capable of anything significant on a world stage, Jurgen Klopp is a coach that will get it out of them. Go get him. Again, breaking news, Greg Berhalter out as the head coach of the U.S. men's national team. And according to their release, quote, our immediate focus is on finding a coach who can maximize our potential as we continue to prepare for the 2026 World Cup. And we have already begun our search process. That from Matt Crocker, the sporting director of U.S. Soccer. Take your thoughts at 719-247-1313. The three stories that are driving the show are coming up next. Welcome in, Drive Time Sports. Busy afternoon all of a sudden in the sports world. Glad to have you, whether you're listening on your radio, online, or through the 100% free Extra Sports 1300 app. Or, if you prefer your sports talk in video form, you can watch the show on our variety of social media platforms: Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, at Extra Sports 1300. The number to chat, 719-247-1313, and perhaps these three stories will get a opinion out of you that you feel compelled to text or call into the show with, and I sure hope that's the case. Here are the 3 stories that are driving the show. All right, story number 1, from Legend High School to the Olympic Games.
Porzingis wasn't ready for the pass. He returns to the Tatum. Up, fakes a 3. Forces it right side. Derrick White, his 3. Got it!
2 for no 2. Who cares?
WBZ on the call. Derrick White from Legend High School to the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs, to the University of Colorado at Boulder, to the San Antonio Spurs, to the Boston Celtics, and now to Paris as a member of Team USA. Kawhi Leonard bowing out of the proceedings due to health concerns, which should come as a shock to absolutely no one. And Grant Hill, Steve Kerr have made the decision to replace him with Colorado's own Derrick White. And I think this should be the final crushing blow to the idea that you should put a cap or a ceiling on what Derrick White is capable of. Could only go to D2 schools out of high school. Dominated. Yeah, okay, he could go D1, but what kind of impact's he going to make? He was the Buffs' best player. Yeah, maybe a team will take a flyer on him in the NBA draft. He was a first-round pick. How much of a career can he carve out? Oh, he could be a key piece of a championship team. I don't know that anybody has said he can't be an Olympian. I don't even know if anybody thought that Derrick White would be an Olympian. Maybe not even Derrick White. I can't wait to hear Derrick White get interviewed when he arrives in Las Vegas. But this is a guy that you know the story of well. And maybe you've had some interaction. Maybe you watched him in Boulder. Maybe you watched him at UCCS. But this is a guy that has scraped and clawed for everything, and at every turn of his basketball career has been told, yeah, you hold up. You've gone far enough. And he keeps pushing and he keeps elevating, and now the guy's making $123 million a year, and he's going to be playing for the best basketball team in the world. After playing for the best basketball team in the NBA. What a great story. And if you asked me, I probably would have said Jaylen Brown. In fact, when I was driving in today and I got text that Kawhi was out, I'm like, Jaylen Brown? And I could make a case that Jaylen Brown should have been the next guy up, but I don't want that. It sounds like I'm detracting from the story, and I don't want to do that. This is an awesome story. And now you will have 23 born and bred Coloradans representing Team USA in Paris here in a couple of weeks. Maybe the next thing that people will, next cap that they'll put on Derrick White is, well, he won't play much. Maybe that will be it. And then we'll see what Derrick White does in the Paris Olympics. Very cool story, and could not have happened to a better dude, Derrick White, member of Team USA. Speaking of Team USA, the breaking news within the last half an hour. U.S. Soccer has removed Greg Berhalter as the head coach of the men's national team, much to the delight of U.S. soccer fans everywhere. They will now begin a search, in their words, to progress them towards the 2026 World Cup. Let me get the quote exactly right, because that's not what they said. Our immediate focus is on finding a coach who can maximize our potential as we continue to prepare for the 2026 World Cup. And Greg Berhalter was never going to be the guy to maximize that. That was always the thing. You saw, as far as Greg Berhalter will have ever gotten this U.S. men's national team in the World Cup. That was the end of the line for Greg Berhalter. Once they said that they would evaluate things and all that, he should have been gone. To bring him back in was a mistake to begin with, and not only have they not moved the needle towards maximizing their potential, it's actually gotten worse with this latest debacle with getting grouped in Copa America. So while I could sit here and say good on U.S. Soccer for making the right decision, they're just fixing their own mistake. Greg Berhalter was a sunk cost, and they finally came around to it. And with the 2026 World Cup being on home turf, with everything going on, this is not one of those coaching searches that the list should be 5 or 6 guys long. Well, we're going to evaluate. No, it's Jurgen Klopp. And when he tells you no, despite your best efforts, then you move on. But this should not be like some NFL coaching searches where it's like, well, we kind of went in wanting this guy, but then this guy wowed us. No, I don't want anybody to wow you. I don't want a good interviewer. I want you to headhunt. I want you to go out and get the best available coach possible and stop at nothing to get him. And that is Jurgen Klopp. He put out a word version of a thirst trap on the 4th of July, talking about how much he loves American fans. He is interested. Go get him. If anybody is going to maximize the potential of this group of players, it is that dude. I don't even want to hear about other candidates. I know people got to fill time and fill column inches. I don't want to hear it. Let me know what Jurgen Klopp says. And if it's no, and after you tell me how the hell you screwed this up, then we can discuss who else. This is the biggest moment in U.S. soccer history that's coming up in 2 years. The coach needs to be worthy of the occasion. That's Jurgen Klopp. But first step completed, Greg Berhalter out as the U.S. men's national team coach. Now, from Team USA, or the U.S. men's national team, to America's team. No, not that one. The Air Force Falcons, of course. Who did you think I was referring to? Mountain West Media Days are underway in Las Vegas, and it is brought in with the release of the preseason poll. And the Air Force Falcons have been voted 4th in the Mountain West, which is quite something considering that they are returning 4 starters from last year's team on offense and defense. 4 out of 22. One of those 4 is on offense. Jared Rosnos. How, whether they're 4th, 1st, or dead last, how could you possibly wager a guess at what this Air Force team is going to be this year? And the answer is you can't. And it's why every day that goes by, preseason polls in college athletics are not worth the paper they are printed on. And that was probably always the case, but even more so now with the transfer portal and everything like that. They have 4 starters back. 4. How in the world can you decide what Air Force is going to be? Why are they 4th? Maybe part of it is process of elimination because there are a lot of programs that are going through turnover at the top of their program, and those things take time. But I think more than anything, this is a nod to what Air Force football has been the last few years. Right? Air Force has had turnover. They've lost quarterbacks. They've lost the voters saying, yeah, we're betting on that. We're betting on Troy Calhoun. We're betting on Mike Thiessen. We're betting on this program because they keep doing it. Even if we don't think they can, they keep doing it. So we're not going to put this team at the bottom. Even though if you're voting on returning production and what they've brought in the transfer portal and recruiting, you could make an argument because you just don't know. But this is a nod to I'm not going to have egg on my face because I put Air Force at the bottom and they do what they do every year. And they put up 8, 9, 10 wins, go to a bowl game, and are a threat in the Mountain West. It's happened too many years now. And Air Force has continuity probably where it matters the most, with the people leading their program. Air Force predicted to finish 4th in the Mountain West. Boise State overwhelmingly voted number 1, but Fresno State, UNLV, they're vulnerable. Who knows? Maybe this team will even surpass the prediction laid forth before them to start the season. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts on the 3 stories that are driving the show. Coming up tonight with a slight roster tweak, Team USA will be facing off against Team Canada, led by perhaps the best backcourt that will compete in the Olympics, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jamal Murray. Discuss what to expect tonight next. Oh, best laid plans. You following what's going on in Major League Baseball? Even if you don't like these two teams, you cannot deny that the best possible matchup, the most intriguing matchup, the matchup that baseball fans and baseball, the game itself, not just wants but needs, is Yankees-Dodgers. And it's not going well. It's not trending in the right direction. Yankees keep losing. Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman are now out on the road with the Yankees. People in New York calling for Aaron Boone to be fired. I heard a stat the other day that should send shivers down your spine. The only bullpen worse than the Yankees over the last month or so is the Rockies. And the margin's there's not that big of a difference. It's better, not by much. That is a sobering statistic. And the Dodgers are just getting decimated with injuries. Now, luckily, they have more talent than any team in Major League Baseball, so they can move some things around. Shohei Ohtani can play catcher or something, right? Like, they just keep moving. We don't really know where to put Mookie Betts. We got great players in the outfield, so we move them to the infield, but we got a shortstop, so we'll move them to second base. Like, imagine being able to do that with one of the 5 best players in baseball. Yeah, we really can't find a spot for you, so we're just going to make you play a different position. Is that cool? And it works, to Mookie Betts' credit, but he's hurt. A lot of people are hurt. So everybody's hurt on the Dodgers, and everybody stinks except for Aaron Judge on the Yankees. That's basically where we are at right now. And the Dodgers right now are losing to the Philadelphia Phillies 2-0. Which, if anybody is going to come out of the National League not named the Dodgers, you would think it would be the Phillies. Right now, the only possibilities that I see in Major League Baseball, Dodgers or Phillies, Yankees or Orioles, or some completely off-the-wall goofy crap happens, like last year when it was the Diamondbacks and the Rangers. If you're the third best team in the NL and the AL, sorry, not going to make it. You're not nearly as good as the 2 top teams, and you making it is not goofy enough. So, like in the National League, it would be Dodgers or Phillies, or the third option is the Pirates. Like, they sneak in there, and because they have 3 quality starting pitchers and they'll throw Paul Skeens every other day, they make it to the World Series, right? We've seen this too often in the baseball playoffs. But make no mistake about it, the best series that baseball could possibly have is Dodgers-Yankees. All-Star break can't come soon enough for those 2 teams, I'll tell you that much. Earlier today, if you missed it, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark did their thing again today. Caitlin Clark with a massive stat line, 29 points, 5 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 blocks. She's not that tall. 2 blocks. And took the L on the way out. Angel Reese, meanwhile, 11 points, 13 rebounds. Her double-double streak, which is currently a record, now stands at 14 games. And the Chicago Sky win. But Angel Reese, in order to extend her double-double streak, needed a foul very late in the game with the game already decided, and I call a bit of shenanigans. I do. It was a situation, and to Angel Reese's credit, she didn't look like she was trying to put up a shot to get above 10 points. She was just dribbling it in the low post. And a player on the other team just fouls her. And this is not the first time this has happened. It happened about a week ago. That somebody fouled Angel Reese in a spot where you go, why are you fouling? And then you look and say, oh, the double-double streak. It's not a look that the NBA wants. Okay? It's not. And they need to stop. If Angel Reese is going to extend this streak, she's a very good basketball player. She can do it on her own. And I know today she wouldn't have. Maybe the streak is not meant to be. I mean, could you imagine somebody challenging Joe DiMaggio's streak or surpasses DiMaggio's streak and they lay down a bunt trying to extend their hitting streak to like 60 games and the third baseman just like doesn't pick it up? How would that go over? So, one time, okay. 2 times, it's enough. From the 719, can we also talk about the fact that Angel Reese misses 6 layups a game and gets her own rebound? We can. And that has certainly been part of the conversation here, that Angel Reese is having a little bit of trouble finishing around the rim, but her saving grace is that she can rebound like a fiend, and eventually she'll put back in the shot. I don't want to diminish her ability to rebound, because like everybody else is allowed to grab the rebound, and she gets them. But what that does say is that this Rookie of the Year conversation is just, again, not what people want to make it out to be. Watch these two players. They're both very good. But what Caitlin Clark is doing to amass the numbers that she is putting up, it's more impressive. It's more meaningful. I mean, they want to make the point about Angel Reese is winning games and affecting winning play. Like, I don't want to turn it into an MVP conversation, but my goodness, if not for Caitlin Clark, right? Like, just watch them, and you will look at Caitlin Clark and you watch her and you'll go, I don't know how, especially juxtapose against one another. You know, maybe you flip back and forth today, or you watch them in the same game. And I just don't know how you could come away with the conclusion saying that an award that both of them are eligible for, Angel Reese deserves more. The quality is just not what it is for Caitlin Clark. Now, in any other year, Angel Reese next year puts up these kind of, maybe she is totally deserving of the Rookie of the Year. It's just not, and I'm not even getting to the expectation level on Caitlin Clark and how much she's meant for the league, that some kind of hardware feels appropriate, but I'm not even going to that. Today's just, it's one example, and I'm not trying to base my entire argument based on one day, but this is not out of the ordinary. Angel Reese needs a late, cheap foul, call it cheap, to get to the free throw line and extend the double-double streak. She still ends with 11 points and 13 rebounds. We live in the world of Mr. Triple-Double. Is 11 and 13 as impressive as 29, 5, and 13? There are levels to this, people. You can't look at both of them and come away with any other conclusion than Caitlin Clark is the rookie of the year. But you can also look at it and say Angel Reese is really good. And she's going to have a very good career. And the teams that passed on her are going to regret it. Because she is unequivocally the second best rookie in the WNBA. But there is a gap between the two of them. And it's just plain as day. I get it. It would be more fun if it was a real debate. Sorry, it's not. But what Angel Reese is doing is impressive as well and worth tuning in for. Just not the same as Caitlin Clark. Just not. Not disparaging one. I'm trying to lift up one. I'm trying to give credit. Not trying to tear the other one down. I want to tell you about QC Kinetics. You know, maybe you've been dealing with arthritic joint pain. Doesn't matter. Knees, hips, back, shoulder. Doesn't make a difference where it is. But you're dealing with it, and maybe you've gone to your doctor, and your doctor's like, gotta go under the knife. Or I got to give you these powerful drugs to manage your pain. You know the risks associated with those two forms of treatment. And I wouldn't blame you if you're a little hesitant. I'm here to tell you that QC Kinetics is offering an alternative. It's advanced regenerative medicine. These are cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. They have tens of thousands of satisfied patients across the country. Many of them you're running into at the grocery store because they've been here in Colorado Springs for a while now. They've been helping out a lot of people. Learn how QC Kinetics can treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. Call for a free consultation. 719-347-1988. 719-347-1988. QC Kinetics, 719-347-1988. It has been my pleasure to serve you. Enjoy whatever you may be watching tonight. Maybe U.S., Canada. That's what I'm going to be tuning in for. And I will talk to you about it tomorrow at 3 here on Extra Sports 1300.